Get started. First off, my name is Liz Coleman. I am one of the enrollment advisors here, and I'm excited to welcome you all to our info session as we dive into a little bit more of the online Masters of Science in Finance program. Today, this session is going to be about 30 minutes. Again, we know you're busy. We want to be courteous to your schedule and your time. If for any reason we understand that life happens and you need to scoot out, that's completely understandable. You're actually going to get an email at the end of this session, either later today or tomorrow, with a recording. That way, if you missed anything, you can always go back. Or if you just had the time of your life and you want to watch it over and over, that's fine as well. If you have questions, you are definitely welcome to utilize our Q&A feature as well. Typically, we are actually going to have our faculty for our finance program join us today. So we really want to focus a lot of today on content, the specific courses, any questions that you are dying to ask our faculty that myself or another enrollment advisor might not be able to answer. So feel free to utilize the Q&A feature and we will definitely try to get those questions answered. If you have specific questions about admissions, enrollment, the criteria, application, deadlines, all the things like that, you can give one of our enrollment advisors a call and we'd love to talk to you, and you'll see the number on your screen, or you can also submit a chat and one of our team members would be happy to help you either way. With that being said, I want to go ahead and introduce our faculty that are joining us today. Gentlemen, if you all want to start, just pick and choose who you want to go first. If you'll just give us a brief introduction of who you are, what led you to the U, how long you've been here, and anything that you'd like to share with these students, and then we'll dive into a few of the questions that we have.
So hi, I guess we may as well go left to right. I'm Professor Birch, and I've been at the University of Miami since 1997, and my PhD is from University of Michigan. If your basketball tournament bracket, you know, if you don't have a team to root for, you can feel free to jump on that bandwagon, since unfortunately Miami didn't make it this year. So I've been teaching in this program since the start. I actually designed the very first fully online course at the university, which happens to be the first course of the online MSF program. And it's just been a great experience. It's been a lot of fun to teach in that course. And just to see the excitement, really, by the time students get through the course, they're just thrilled with how much they've worked in a good way, right? So, I mean, the comments that I get are that, wow, that was really a lot of work, and boy, was that worth it. I cannot believe how much I know now as opposed to the beginning of the course. And I'm using this in my work already and in my personal life and so forth. So it's really been a fun course to teach, and it's kind of the launching point, I guess, for the rest of the course. So anyway, glad to have you here and look forward to entertaining any questions.
Thanks, Tim. My name is Indranil Chakravarti. It's a long name. I joined University of Miami in 2015. When I joined, Alok asked me to design courses which are based upon my research and my work experience. And in general, I will say that all courses in this program are designed with the interest of some instructor in terms of research or teaching. So we have had good reception of the classes. My particular class is financial intermediation or banking, and the other one is called alternative investments, have gotten good reception as well. I graduated from Wharton in 2010. I'm from India, and I hope to see you all at the MSF program. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go next. So I'm Alok, and I have been at University of Miami for over 10 years. I came here from Texas. I was at UT Austin, and before that I have taught at University of Notre Dame. I did my PhD at Cornell in economics, and I also have other degrees in like Indranil in engineering and computer science and AI and so on. So my main research area is behavioral finance or psychology of financial markets. and that is what I also teach. This course is, in a way, I shouldn't say it describes what's happening in the market today, but what's happening in the market today is a good way of illustrating what I teach in this class, which is basically how the dynamics between less sophisticated investors and sophisticated hedge funds and other traders determine how prices are formed in the market. So this is also, I would say, and a course that is well liked because it's a little bit offbeat. It is not a typical finance class where you learn about the standard stuff from finance and economics. It brings in ideas from psychology, and people can kind of see that how psychology affects their behavior. So that also makes it more believable, so to speak. So yes, so I look forward to having you in the program too, if you choose to start. And yeah, we can move on to George.
Hi everyone, I'm George. I'm very happy to be here today. So I moved to the US in 1998. I went to graduate school at Yale. After that, I went to the University of Notre Dame. And actually, that was a time that me and Alok were there. So that's where we started working together. And
I think we should also add, George, that we have known each other since Yale. So Yale, Notre Dame, and now Miami.
Yeah, I know.
3 schools overlap, yes.
Yes. So after Notre Dame, I was an economist at the Federal Reserve in DC, and then I moved to Miami in 2010. So in terms of the master's program, I've been teaching since its inception, and the class that I teach is actually a very unique course that combines the expertise of two professors. So the course, the first half is taught by Dr. First, and the second half is taught by me. And the unique part of this course is that we sort of sat down with Michael and asked ourselves, what is one very important thing that someone needs to know how to do after they graduate from a master's in finance program? And the thing that I thought about, which is related to my research, is students need to be able to write an investment report, a professional investment report. So why don't we design a course that would actually teach them how to do that? So in the first part of the course, Michael takes a very corporate finance approach and teaches students about how can we understand the firm? What determines the workings of the firm? What are metrics that can differentiate a good firm from a bad firm? But that is a very important springboard for building a portfolio, because a portfolio is kind of a collection of different companies. And that's where I take over, because a lot of my research is about portfolio decisions, constructing portfolios, rebalancing portfolios. So that's kind of when I take over in half of the course. And then by the end of it, the students do work on a project that produces an investment report. And similar to Tim, we've been getting this comment that, well, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of useful work. Because by the end of the day, the students have something concrete that they can say they accomplished, which is learning how to write these investment reports. And I think this is like a theme throughout the program. We're both trying to teach students very important fundamental concepts in finance, but at the same time have an approach that is also useful for their careers. So this is not just a purely academic type of program. It is very rigorous, but the focus is to give students the toolkit they need for successful careers in finance.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, on behalf of the enrollment team and everyone here, I definitely want to thank all four of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to talk with us and just be able to pour into these students as they're trying to navigate through is this program going to be a good fit? Is the University of Miami going to be a good fit? All the things. So with that being said, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is online education. I know that there's this negative stigma with, employers, students thinking that, well, because the degree is online, I'm not necessarily going to get the most out of it. I'm not going to have that type of, close relationship with my faculty. As an expert in the field of finance, do you feel that the online MSF program adequately prepares the students for a career in finance? And if so, in what ways does our program stand out to others that our students might be looking at? And I apologize, this question could be for anyone who's willing to answer. If all four of you'd like to answer, if one or two want to tackle it, it's completely up to you guys.
So I guess I'll jump in and at least get started, and I'd like to ask my colleagues to follow on with what I have to say. So I think I'm going to kind of maybe broaden back a little bit and think big picture. There are a lot of online programs out there, and I think when you look at online programs, it's important to understand that some programs are basically just there to spoon feed you a few things and collect tuition. I mean, that's the unfortunate reality with some programs. And we as a department, we took this program in quite the opposite direction. So we wanted to be very careful to make sure that our students are learning the same material. They're getting the same quality of instruction and material and interaction with faculty that we give our students on campus. So, you've heard George mention it's a rigorous program. It is a rigorous program, but there's that old expression that anything worth doing is not probably going to be easy to do. So it takes work and it takes effort, but, the program is very structured at this point, and almost all of our students are very successful in working their way through the material. So it's really just a question of time management and putting in the time and effort into the program. And if you do that, you're gonna get out of the program what you need to be successful, because the materials are there and the faculty support is there. So I guess that's sort of my comment about that.
We can go sequentially if Indranil has to say otherwise.
I also would like to add that. Oh,
you guys please take go ahead. Please.
I also wanted to add that we also have an MSF program that we teach on the ground, so to speak. And that program started first before the online program. And actually that's a benefit for the online program, because when we sat down to design the online program, we already have the experience of on the ground program. So we sort of selected the things that we know work the best and designed this program. So that's a big difference between other programs which just solely exist online. Our program also exists on the ground, and most of us teach in that program as well. So we use the knowledge of what's effective, of what's useful on the ground, and transfer it to the online platform. And also what we learn from the online platform, it kind of feeds back to the on the ground. So our program is quite dynamic and is not static. And I can certainly attest, like Tim, for students who are motivated and they do the work, they're going to get a lot out of it. It's like any other form of teaching. If you are on the ground, but you never show up in class, you're missing out on a lot of things. So there has to be, motivation from the side of the student. But it's not that on the online platform, we're giving like a cheapened version of the on the ground. That's not true. The two programs feed into each other and they are helpful for each other, which is actually a big difference, I think, from other existing master programs.
Yeah, I also wanted to add to what George is saying by emphasizing that in every case, the teacher who teaches the on-campus program also teaches the same course in the online program. So it's not that not only that we teach in both, to make the content as close to each other as possible. It's the same instructor. So you don't get a diluted version or a different version of that class, it's almost identical. At least I can say in my case, it's 100% the same. The only difference is the method of delivery. And in fact, I would argue that in some cases, given that we have pre-recorded videos, we put in a lot of time designing those videos, so it's a little bit more structured, and we know what you're getting through this program, rather than a lecture where on any given day, I mean, the same lecture, the two lectures are not the same. So it could have gone in some other direction and so on. And anyway, so that's one thing. I also wanted to respond to a question from an anonymous attendee. Would you recommend this program for someone who wants to get into finance but already has an MBA? So I've had students, I don't know if I have had students in this program, online program, but the MSF program, we have had students with an MBA. And the reason is very simple, because if you want a very specialized or depth into more depth into the world of finance, then this program offers you many courses, and that is something that typically when you do an MBA, you don't get exposed to those courses. Now, of course, the one minor drawback of the online program, again, is that the menu is preset. So unlike an on-campus program where you could take electives, I believe, again, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the structure is a little bit more rigid, and maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, we don't know. It depends upon the individual, but the set of courses, we picked the best that we thought would be good for students and put them in this program.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for addressing that question. And students, if you have specific questions that you want our faculty to answer, that really in-depth questions that an enrollment advisor probably wouldn't be able to answer, this is your opportunity. So please feel free to utilize that feature. One thing I want to go back to, and I appreciate you mentioning, is that, these are the same faculty who teach our on-campus students, which is a big deal. So I know, majority of our students that do the online program are full-time working adults. They have families, very busy schedules, but at the same time, they want to be able to take advantage of, not just your knowledge, but your connections, your wisdom, your advice that you can give them. So let's kind of dive into a little bit of what does it look like for faculty involvement for our online students? Do you have office hours? How would they reach out to you? And what does that relationship, professor-student look like?
Well, I'm on the left. I guess I'll start again first. So, this is probably to some degree, I would guess, faculty specific. In my case, I have what I basically try to do is establish with the student that because we're not seeing each other face to face in person, right, in a classroom at a pre-scheduled time, that the electronic communication becomes very, very important. So I have expectations on the part of the students that they're checking their email a couple times a day, and then of course I'm doing the same, more than just a couple of times a day. I'm checking very frequently, because my philosophy is that I understand that students are making progress at different rates through the week based on what their schedule looks like, and if they are encountering some sort of stumbling block, I want to make sure that I can resolve that for them as quickly as possible, so that they can continue to make progress. So we'll have that, sort of online back and forth interaction throughout the week. And then I also have live office hours, which are, extremely helpful, because students can see me talk through problems that they're asking about in real time. And, I have those early evening, because of course, most people in the program are working. And then if people can't make that office hour session, of course, I will record that and post that later that evening, so that people can see that as a follow-up. And those have proved to be very useful for the students. So there's actually, in some cases, I would say I have more interaction with some of my online students than than I actually have with the on-campus students. As odd as that may sound, it's actually the case.
Yeah, I'll just echo that point that the interactions are frequent. We have online office hours. Students call me on phone. We can chat. They of course email, and then they also visit sometimes my office when they are in Miami, which is a nice opportunity. So I think the interactions continue with many students even after they graduate. So we definitely, as the faculty have said before, do not distinguish in any sense between the students of different groups. And as long as students want to talk with us, we are there to talk to them.
Absolutely. Well, we've got some really great questions popping up if you guys don't mind answering. The first one is, are all classes recorded, and are there any classes that have live participation?
I can tackle that. So can I take a step back, as Alec was saying? When this program was designed, it was designed thinking about people that are actually working and going to school. So it has to be the case that the learning is what we call asynchronous. That basically means that you don't have to be at a particular time, at a particular spot to be able to do the class. So for that reason, and for all the professional classes that we teach online, there is not live class. All the material is posted every week, and the student just on their own time and pace go through the material. That material does include videos of how to do things, on instructions, and also, as Tim was saying, some instructors do have this something called live office hours, but that again is specific to the instructor. I found in my case that I used to have a student who was a doctor in an emergency in a hospital. So he told me these live office hours are not useful for me because I'm only available to do this when I'm like in the hospital at like 2 a.m. So I personally switched my office hours to I sit down, pre-record what I know are the questions, and then I post that video. So it doesn't mean that if you cannot make it in a particular time, you don't get to see what I have to say for that day. I also personally use a lot of announcements. Given my experience of how it works, I do kind of know on Tuesday of week 4, the students usually run into this problem. So I send an announcement on the interface telling them, okay, if you run into this problem, this is how you do it. So the structure of the program is to accommodate many people that want to go to school, but they just can't be full-time students, and they don't have particular points of the day that they can allocate to the class every week. So I think that's kind of maybe helps a little bit to understand the structure that we built into the online program.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Another question that we have is from a student. He says, I have a marketing background, but now work in mergers and acquisitions for the same industry. Will this program be beneficial to me?
Probably Tim can answer it more efficiently. So if you don't mind, yeah.
Honestly, to be honest, I've yet to encounter any student that is not that feels like the program is not very useful for them. You know, my course also gets used in the regular MBA program. So there's a course or two that you know, a different program also uses. And I remember once having a marketing vice president at one of the cereal manufacturers, and she was amazed. I mean, like midway through, she says, "Now I understand what the finance people are saying. They're shocked. I'm able to ask questions that I wasn't able to answer before." You know, so even people, at least in the case of the course that I teach, even people that aren't heading off into the finance direction find the course very useful. And I think without a doubt, you're going to get a lot out of the program if you're working in M&A. I mean, one of the fundamentals of M&A is to really understand the valuation process. how does that take place? What are the models that are used to put a value on something, right? And so, you're going to be learning about that in the program, and then, just anything that you can think of. I mean, it's a very focused program in finance, obviously. We're covering a lot of ground, and it's going to be very useful for anybody that's heading off into the finance direction in any capacity.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And the next question that we have, I'm so glad that they asked, because it's actually a question that I wanted to address as well, is, a lot of students, they come in, especially with the job market, the economic climate that we're facing because of COVID, they don't want to just get a degree, they want to be able to utilize it naturally. And so the question is, what career sources does this program offer? And what are some of the recruiting opportunities? And one thing I do want to add on to that is, what different career paths do we often see some of our current or former students pursue through the degree?
So maybe I can start this one. I mean, it's a difficult, slightly difficult question, mainly because we don't have that much data. But as far as I understand, the ZIF career services that we have available, that is available to our on-campus students, probably, again, and this is where I'm not 100% sure, because I have not, students haven't asked me directly, but my belief is that the same career resources are available to online students as well. But I guess Tim, George, or Elizabeth, maybe you can also add to that, because I'm not fully sure. But again, that is sort of has been the idea. I do want to answer one of the other questions, and we can come back to this. What are the options that an online MSF offer to pursue doctorate studies, or is it geared more toward professionals augmenting their professional career? So the answer to that is, as we've been saying previously, this program is more or less a replica of our on-campus MSF, and to the extent that and it depends upon the institution where you apply whether they would consider this as a sufficient preparation for a PhD or not. But because in terms of content, it is pretty much the same. So I don't know, based on my experience, if somebody who has taken this program and has gone forward to get a PhD, but I have known people who have gone forward and gotten a DBA, and I did write a recommendation letter for them. So at University of Florida, for example. So my guess is it is considered equivalent to an on-campus master's program. But again, this could be school specific, and at least I have one data point, one example where somebody did go on to pursue a DBA at University of Florida.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will add about the question with the different career opportunities is we do have a fantastic career services department that work very closely with our online students. You can set up a virtual session with them, be able to express your interest. I guess, I know we're cutting down on the time, so I want to be courteous to everyone. Just quickly, as far as career options that could come from this degree, what are just a few, different outcomes that students might experience?
If I may take that question, I can point out that the courses as they are designed divide into a couple of tracks. There is a lot of investment-driven classes, which allow you to benefit with a job in the large asset management industry in town. Many of those classes, we are even interacting with the asset management companies in town and providing some expertise and guidance there as well. So that's part of it. Then, of course, standard corporate finance jobs that exist in a company are also something which we prepare students for. banking jobs in general, which would be a combination of those two or could be separated. Insurance industry jobs, which are also quite in vogue. But all the jobs in finance, whatever is required in terms of basic finance preparation, we do try to provide. We have the best, I mean, maybe the faculty themselves don't want to point out, but we have one of the best behavioral finance departments in the country in terms of research and teaching. So that also provides new courses and new perspectives, which are slowly taking hold in the industry. So I think that the course, echoing other faculty, provides a very good opportunity to students to participate in any financial professional career.
So there, I would also like to add, I don't know if it's somewhat related, that, you know, what gives our program an edge over other programs. And I would actually argue that most of the faculty who teach in this program are very research oriented. So that is not common, by the way. In many programs, you have teaching faculty and you have research faculty. Here, our star researchers are also our star teachers. So you get the cutting edge, you get what is happening in the field today and how that relates to, you know, which will go in the industry maybe in a few years. So you have an advantage over others who are somewhat looking at not stale, but maybe not up-to-date material. Here, what research I'm doing, I am actually bringing those ideas into the classroom and how that relates, for example, to the hedge fund industry or the money management industry and so on. And others are doing the same. So that that could be something helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and let me also address one question that I see and hear about someone asking many years of experience in the education industry, about to finish an undergraduate degree in business administration without any finance working experience. So, you know, and would this program be suitable? So, you know, the course that I teach, it doesn't assume background knowledge. So, you know, there are students that, let's say, have an undergraduate degree in finance and they're working in the finance industry. And there are also students that don't have an undergraduate degree, in some cases, even in business at all, right? And they don't have any working experience in the field whatsoever. You know, some people take this program because they're working in some direction, but they want to switch, and because they're interested in finance, you know, and they sort of want to hang on to that job that they have and that income that they have, well, while they are continuing their education, and you know, that way they can get through their education without having to forego the income, right? I mean, of course, there's a reason why people choose to get their education while continuing to work. So, you know, the background knowledge is not assumed coming into the program. And one of my main jobs, I guess, teaching that first course, which is a 4-credit course, is to try to get everybody on the same page by the time they leave the course, right? So that they're prepared to take the finance courses that follow. So yes, I think it's the answer would be a yes to that question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also, let me just kind of add 1 minute for the background. When we are designing the whole program, we're very conscientious on how each class precedes every other class. So the way the idea was is that, and this comes from the benefits of the structure, because everybody has to follow a preset format. We make sure the complexity and difficulty just kind of goes up with the next course. So as you climb the ladder, things become like harder. And we did find that people that had a finance background, they were very happy that we went over some basics because they kind of forgot them. And people that didn't know them appreciated them that they were there. So everybody kind of benefits from this approach of starting easy and then more difficult and then more difficult. And so it's kind of like, I wouldn't worry, let's put it that way, if I have the background, I wouldn't worry that it would not be challenging enough. And if I don't have the background, I wouldn't worry that I won't be able to like learn. Mm-hmm. And all these elements were put into the original design of the entire program.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, it's we put a lot of thought. We put a lot of thought in putting together the program as a whole and each individual class on its own. And all of us kind of work together and agreed upon the structure.
Yes, that's fantastic. And you know, we get students all the time that ask us that question. You know, they are coming in with a completely different background and want to make sure that they're successful. So that feedback was incredibly helpful for those students. And I know that unfortunately we are at the end of our time, so I apologize for any missed questions. Again, I want to thank all four of you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to speak with us, give us the knowledge that we need and these students the tools to determine, you know, if our program is going to be a good fit. And I know that we would all love for them to be in your classrooms either this upcoming summer or fall term. Students, I definitely, again, want to thank you as well for taking the time out of your schedules. Just as a thank you from us to you, as every student that attended today will receive a $300 tuition deposit waiver. So should you choose to apply and be admitted into the program and you want to go ahead and secure that spot in the program, we've got you covered. By attending this session, you won't have to worry about a deposit. In addition, if you still have an interest in applying and you want to pursue the summer term, the application and financial aid deadline is April 12th. So you will want to contact an enrollment advisor no later than today. So go ahead, pull up that number, give us a call. We definitely want to make sure that we get that application done for you. Again, you'll see the website where if you want to start that application, and it is free to apply. So don't let an application fee hold you back. Lastly, again, I want to thank you all so much for your time. If you have a quick second, we'd love to hear your feedback, things that you appreciated, things that we could do different. If you would prefer that we fly you all to Miami, that way you can meet us all in person, let us know. Any feedback that you can provide is greatly appreciated. But again, appreciate you all, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
My
everybody.
pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.